Let me take you back 8 years. I was still raw from losing my wife, Ellen, the kind of grief that makes you want to disappear into routine. So I sold the old house full of memories and moved into Maple Ridge Estates, a gated community where every lawn looked like it was trimmed with nail scissors and every mailbox was exactly 42 inches from the curb. I thought the rules would feel safe, predictable. Turns out rules are only safe until someone decides to weaponize them. I'm Tom Thompson, freelance mechanical engineer, 59 years old at the time this all started. My backyard became my sanctuary. A smoker, a tool shed, a couple of Adirondack chairs, and my pride and joy, a perfectly stacked with pile of seasoned red oak that I split myself every fall. There's something meditative about swinging a maul and hearing that clean crack when the grain gives way. Most neighbors were great. The Millers next door brought me homemade pie every Thanksgiving. Old Mr. Jenkins waved every morning while watering his roses. Life was quiet. Then Karen Whitmore moved in 2 doors down. Picture a woman who dresses for Tuesday morning like she's about to argue a Supreme Court case. Blazers, pearl necklaces, heels that could stake a vampire. Within 30 days, she had somehow become HOA president. Nobody remembered voting. One day, the old president just vanished in the group chat, and Karen was suddenly signing emails, President Karen Whitmore, Maple Ridge Estates. Her reign of terror began immediately. She measured grass height with a ruler. She photographed mailboxes that were off-brand. She sent certified letters if your Christmas lights stayed up past January 3rd. My first personal encounter was a sunny Saturday in October. I was splitting wood when I heard the sharp click, click, click of heels on my driveway. Mr. Thompson? I looked up. Karen stood there holding a neon pink clipboard like it was the 10 Commandments. Your wood storage is visible from the street at certain angles, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It violates Section 4B of the Aesthetic Guidelines. You have 10 days to relocate or screen it completely. I wiped sweat off my brow. Karen, it's behind a 6-foot privacy fence and a shed. From certain angles, she repeated, snapping a photo with her phone. It disrupts the visual symmetry of the cul-de-sac. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Symmetry? It's firewood, not the Taj Mahal. Her smile froze. 10 days, Mr. Thompson. Or fines begin at $50 per day. She turned and clicked away. I didn't move the wood. I just made the stacks neater. Figured that would be the end of it. I was so wrong. 2 weeks later, I came home from the hardware store and noticed my pile looked smaller. I'm anal about counting cords. It's an engineer thing. I was missing almost half a rick. 20 solid logs gone. At first, I thought maybe I misremembered. Grief brain, right? But 3 nights later, another dozen vanished. This wasn't kids. These were heavy, full-length splits. Someone was loading them into a vehicle. So I carved tiny notches into the ends of 20 logs, a little TT that only I would recognize. Then I installed a motion-activated floodlight. That night, the light snapped on at 11:47 p.m. I bolted to the window, just in time to see a shadow slipping through my side gate. Moonlight glinted off something metallic, a flash of blonde hair under a scarf. The next morning, 4 notched logs missing. High-heeled divots in the wet grass by the gate. I still didn't want to believe it. Then came the second violation letter. Same neon pink paper, same passive-aggressive tone. Finding me again for continued non-compliance regarding fire hazard materials. The signature at the bottom? President Karen Whitmore. That's when I drove past her house slow. And there, through her huge bay window, I saw my firewood, my exact splits, my notches, stacked neatly beside her brand-new gas fireplace that still had the plastic film on the glass. She was burning my stolen wood while fining me for having it. I sat in my truck for a full 5 minutes just staring, feeling something shift inside me. Not anger exactly. Engineers don't get angry. We get creative. That night I opened my workshop, flipped on the fluorescent lights, and started sketching. Project name written in big block letters across the top of the page. Thermodynamic retribution. If you confront a Karen directly, she wins. She feeds on drama, on being the victim, on technicalities. So I decided to let physics do the talking. First, I needed undeniable proof. So I bought two 4K night vision cameras with audio, mounted one above the shed, one hidden in the gutter, cloud backup, motion alerts, the works. Then I waited. Night 1, raccoons. Night 2, a very confused possum. Night 3, jackpot. 12:14 a.m. My phone buzzes. I open the app and there she is in glorious 4K. Karen Whitmore, beige trench coat, silk scarf, ridiculous high-heel boots in the middle of the night, marching into my yard like she owns it. She even had a little LED headlamp. She picked through my pile, selected the best splits, and whispered to herself. The mic caught it clear as day. He won't miss these. It's basically a community resource at this point. She loaded 8 logs into the back of her white Escalade, brushed her hands together like she'd just done charity work, and strutted off. I watched the footage 5 times that morning, sipping coffee, grinning like the Grinch. A smarter man would have called the sheriff right then. But I'm an engineer, and engineers believe in elegant solutions. So I went back to the workshop. I selected 3 perfect-looking splits, drilled them out with a 2-inch auger bit on my lathe, and created hollow cavities. Then I packed each cavity with 80 grams of triple refined black powder, the exact amount used in professional mortar shells. Enough for a massive bang and smoke cloud, 0 chance of structural damage or injury. I sealed the ends with old plugs and real bark, aged them with a torch and ash, so they looked 5 years old, indistinguishable from the real ones. I placed all 3 right in the middle of the pile, the prime picking zone. Then I waited again. 5 nights later, at 1:05 a.m., the motion alert hit. Same beige coat, same smug little smile, same whispered for the community. She took 10 logs that trip. 3 of them were mine. I went to bed happier than I had been in years. The next day, I walked past her house casually. There, in a shiny new stainless steel log holder on her front porch, sat my handiwork. I even recognized the exact grain pattern on one of the hollowed logs. I waved politely. Morning, Karen. Stocking up early for winter? She barely looked at me. Some of us actually prepare, Tom. Oh, I've been preparing too, I said, smiling all the way home. That same afternoon was the monthly HOA meeting. I never went, too much whining about paint swatches, but this time I showed up early, front row, folder in hand. Karen walked in late, clutching her boss lady mug, and immediately launched into her prepared speech. Item 7. Continued noncompliance by resident Tom Thompson regarding unsightly and hazardous outdoor wood storage. Effective immediately, a $250 fine and mandatory removal within 72 hours. The room went quiet. I raised my hand like a kid in class. Karen, quick question. You said you personally documented my wood pile in the last 48 hours, correct? She smirked. Of course. It's all time-stamped. Funny, I said, standing slowly, because in the last 48 hours, someone stole over half my firewood. I have it on video. You could have heard a pin drop. Karen blinked twice. Well, maybe you misplaced. 80 pounds of oak doesn't misplace itself, Karen. I turned to the room. Would anyone like to see who's been helping themselves to my yard at midnight? I held up my phone. The treasurer actually leaned forward. Karen went white. You can't record without permission. That's illegal. Actually, I said calmly, cameras on my private property recording my private property are 100% legal in this state. Want me to play it? She opened her mouth, closed it, looked around for allies and found none. Finally, she hissed, You'll regret this, grabbed her purse, and stormed out. The room erupted. That should have been the end of it. It was only the beginning. 3 days later, I got another certified letter, this time finding me for unauthorized surveillance equipment visible from the street. I laughed so hard I spilled coffee on myself. Phase 2 is now officially active. The next week passed quietly. Too quietly. I started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the humiliation had worked. Then came a night I'll never forget. I was on the couch watching Mythbusters reruns, ironically an episode about homemade cannons. We had exactly 8:47 p.m., the loudest boom I've ever heard rattle my windows. 30 seconds later, boom, Then another, slightly muffled pop. Then the sweetest sound in the English language, Karen screaming, "Oh, my God," from 2 streets away. I slipped on shoes, grabbed a beer for the show, and strolled toward the growing cloud of smoke. Half the neighborhood was already outside, phones out, kids on bikes, fire trucks, sirens in the distance. Karen's house looked like a Hollywood set, thick gray smoke pouring from the chimney. Front windows fogged, her silk robe half charred at the hem. She was in the front yard, face black with soot, hair doing an excellent Einstein impression, screaming at the first firefighter. IT just exploded. I put in 3 logs and the whole fireplace tried to kill me. The firefighter, young guy, clearly fighting laughter, asked the greatest question in history. "Ma'am, where did you get the wood?" Karen, without thinking, "I didn't buy it, She froze. Realized 50 neighbors were watching. I raised my beer in salute from the back of the crowd. "Evening, Karen. Need a hand with anything." The fire inspector found black powder residue and hollowed out oak. Ruled it non-criminal prank-grade combustion. No injuries, no intent to harm. Karen tried to spin it. Attempted murder, terrorism, chemical warfare. The sheriff watched my footage instead. His exact words to her, "Ma'am, this is trespassing and theft. Any more incidents and you're getting charged." She lasted another 6 weeks. Tried to hold secret board meetings. Tried to sue me for emotional distress and chemical burns. Tried to put protest signs in her yard. We cited her own old rules and made her take them down. Finally, the emergency vote. 87% to remove her as president. She moved 3 counties away. They say she found another HOA. Pray for them. 6 months later, she came back one last time to pick up some boxes the new owners let her grab from the shed. She looked exhausted, smaller, human. As she carried out the last box, she paused at my gate. "You know they call me Fireplace Karen on the internet now." I smiled. Legends never die. She actually laughed, a tired, sad little laugh. "Take care, Tom." And just like that, she was gone. These days, Maple Ridge has block parties, Christmas lights that stay up till February, and a fire pit in my backyard, where neighbors gather every weekend. Every fall, someone still asks, "Those logs safe, Tom?" I just hand them a beer and say, "Only one way to find out." Because sometimes justice doesn't need a courtroom. Sometimes all it takes is a little black powder and a whole lot of patience.